Hello, I'm Pirie and I make podcasts. In this section, I'll tell you how to prepare for your recorded interviews and how to market your podcasts to give people the best chance of finding you. So you need a name. What will your podcast be called? Check and see that there isn't already one with that name. And keep it simple and searchable. Bodmin Keep War Stories, Cornwall Woman, and then you need an image. This is vital. It's your shop window. You need a thumbnail image which shows up in podcast apps. It needs to pop and catch someone's eye and look good, big or small. Think thumbnail size, which is literally this big. It should also include the name of the series, which is a lot to think about in a small space. So here are some examples of podcast images. If you're not a whiz on Photoshop, then there are apps like Canva which will help you merge the image and the text, as I explained in section 3. If you're using the Anchor app, they have their own built-in software to help you make your own image. Now, how many episodes are you going to do? It's really good if you can publish fortnightly or more often, because this helps sustain interest with the audience. If that's tricky, try and get a few episodes in the bag before launching. Then you've got a lot more for people to get hooked on right from the beginning. It's really worth considering recording a short trail. This is basically a mini podcast, which is an advert before you launch the first episode to whet people's appetite and give you something to start promoting with. It's also useful to ensure that it's going live on the different podcast hosting channels before you launch the episodes proper. Listen to the trails for Cornwall Woman or Bodmin Keep War Stories to get the idea. You'll be selling the podcast series by explaining what the overarching theme is. You can mention the name of forthcoming guests and areas of discussion and include some teasers, exciting bits to reel people in, and importantly, tell them where they can subscribe. So now down to individual episodes and things to think about before you start recording. If you're having a guest on, find some time to chat with them beforehand to find out what their areas of strength are knowledge-wise and what they're happy to talk about or not. Make some notes during the conversation and use this preliminary discussion to plot your questions for the recorded interview. Think about the arc of the podcast to ensure that the recorded interview flows well and comes to a natural conclusion. On the day of recording, have everything to hand before you start. If you're talking about an object in your collection, have it in front of you or try standing in front of it. You need your notes, some way of keeping an eye on the time so that you don't end up with too much audio. Make sure your guest's phone is switched off and not just on silent, as recording equipment can pick up on signals and interference. If you're using Anchor, put your own phone in airplay mode. You'll still be able to record. And always use headphones. You want to make sure that your and your guests' voices are on similar levels and to be aware of other noises like rattling bangles or sometimes people bang on the table when they're talking. You want to make sure your audio is as clean as possible. You could record a short clip with both voices in first to check the levels. But once you've done all that, enjoy the conversation. Now, marketing. Here are some top tips on getting it out there. First and foremost, tell everyone. Your colleagues, volunteers, friends of the museum and the gallery, and get them to subscribe. This makes your podcast look popular right from the start and helps to ensure that as many people as possible are listening and can spread the word. And ask your interviewees to spread the word as well, especially if they're on social media. Get them and anyone else you can to subscribe and rate and review the podcast. This all helps with profile on podcast apps. If you're using Anchor, they create links for your website and for sharing on social media, so put them everywhere you can and not just once. So now you should have enough guidance to finally get started on making your own podcast. Good luck. I can't wait to hear it. And if you've got any more questions, feel free to contact me. Just search for Cornwall Woman on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter.